Okay, y'all. All right, it is time. I had a subscriber who wants to know more details about the modifications I've made to my truck. So I thought I'd take this time to go ahead and do that video. So here we go. All right, I've got I've got my coveralls on. Let's see, insulated coveralls, and I got my boots on and put my gloves on. So get the tripod set up here. So I want to basically, this viewer wants a little more detail about modifications, and there has been a couple of modifications since the last video about this sort of stuff has been made. So I thought I'd go over it. Now, basically, this video is probably going to be broken up into probably 3 parts, depending on length. So I thought we'd go ahead and start with the engine, okay? And then there's going to be like drivetrain and frame and suspension modifications, and then there's going to be interior modifications. We'll just see how long it takes to get through each area, and okay? So we'll try to keep this down to 20 minutes maybe, or something on that nature. Okay. All right, let's start with what's going on in here. Okay, as far as the engine, pretty much stock. The only thing that's been modified is the intake manifold. The bottom plate, this is a Magnum version of the 239 V6. 3.9 liter for those of you who are cubic inch impaired. This particular engine is just 2 cylinders lopped off of the 2 cylinders removed from the 318, so it shares a lot of parts commonality with the 318 or the 5.2 liter. As you can see, the bottom plate on the intake manifold messed up, and the gasket, it kicked the gasket out. And when it did that, it started leaking oil into the intake manifold and burning oil. So I replaced the intake, that bottom plate, with one from Hughes Engines, and that fixed that problem. It also came with a much better gasket. The original gasket was paper. The new one is a metal shim gasket with the silicone-like material on both sides. It's a common occurrence with the Magnum engines. Got rid of the mechanical fan. Did that years ago. That was like one of the first things I did. Some people like the mechanical fans. I don't really, because it's a little bit of a power robber. But, you know, it is what it is. Replaced the radiator with a copper brass radiator. Moved the battery back to the back for just a little bit better traction back there. And just kind of always wanted to do that. So, there we go. As far as like other modifications, well, let's see. We've got 2 snorkels on the air cleaner right there. This snorkel is pretty much stock. This pipe is a little bit longer, so that helps out a lot. This part here is all the original. This part here I'm shining the light on. That part there that I'm touching the light on, that part is glued to this. It's just basically, it just raises the air cleaner assembly up a little bit and helps to straighten out that airflow before it gets into the throttle body. Okay. This engine's always run pretty strong for what it is, so does that help? I'd like to think so. K&N air filter, that's not just a sticker. There really is a K&N air filter in there. And I've been running a K&N filter in this for, 20 years or more. So then there is this snorkel here, which I just got 2 of these tubes out of the junkyard, cleaned them up, yeah, that is what you think it is. That is a piece of a oil filter canister that I cut apart and cut the ends off and used it as a spacer right there, or lengthener. Okay, I did cut the slot right there and put this in there so get a little more cool air coming in. This snorkel comes in and just picks up the cool air coming in around the headlight. Okay, maybe not as good as this one over here, you know, but still, hey, it is what it is. Okay, I'm glad to have it. So now, I think as far as modifications up here, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, we got the electric fan, and that is run with a automatic switch that I can adjust and to different temperatures to kick on whenever I want. I also have a manual override in the cab. This probably gets into chassis a little bit, but the power steering pump, I cut down the amount of pressure it's putting out so that it improves the feel of the steering, so it's not over boosted. Otherwise, that's the stock pump, that's the stock steering box. Okay. This also gets into the chassis a little bit, but it's really easy to see right here, so I'm going to go ahead and show this off. These rusty looking metal bars right there, those are there to help brace up the frame. You see there's a factory brace down there too. You see the one that's kind of dirty and black looking? Okay, there's that one, plus the ones I put right there. And I also have one put over here. That just helps the frame to keep it from twisting whenever the steering box is moving, because when the steering box moves, the frame will sometimes want to twist like that. So I did this to help with that. Okay, now there are other ways to combat that problem, but that's just one of them. Okay, so it's however you want to do it. Okay. Okay, I think that's everything for here, for this particular area. So I think that's everything in the engine compartment. It does have true dual exhaust. This engine does. There is no crossover pipe. Each manifold has its own pipe that comes out and comes out in front of the rear wheel back there. So yeah, it's not some 2-into-1 kind of deal or something like that. I had that done ages ago. So I think next we'll just carry on with the interior. We'll just go in here in the interior and start looking around in here a little bit. Okay. First, I've got to cover up these. I don't want to damage my paint on my truck, even though it's not the greatest in the world. There we go. Just something to cover those up right there. Okay. All right. Changes in here. There's been some. Used to have a bench seat. Wasn't to my liking, so I changed it. Got these buckets. The bucket seats are from a 80s front-wheel drive Chrysler, like Daytona, Chargers, that sort of thing. Now, make sure if you do that, make sure you either modify the seat to where if you get one from like something that's 4-door, make sure to modify the seat so that it tilts forward. Because if it doesn't, guess what? You can't tilt the seat forward and you can't get back here to anything that's back there. Okay. I added this bag-like system here. This has been really helpful because I've been able to put stuff back there and hold on to it and use it to, basically keep things back here that I might need. I mean, like right there's some light bulbs in that pocket right there. There's some tissues in that one. It's just, you know, nice to have that. The middle seat, the buddy seat, this came out of a 79. You can see there's all the junk I keep in there. The middle seat itself, it needs to be recovered, of course. That came out of a 79 Dodge W100 Power Wagon, along with the frame that the seats sit on. So, as you can see, let me get this. Okay, you see that framework right there. It runs all the way across to the other side over there. That is, yeah, that is the, that also came out of the 79, that W100. That's, oh, these seats do, you know, slide back and forth, and they recline too, so that's pretty nice. Just put the speakers right there. Aftermarket stereo, Pioneer. I've got speakers in the doors down here. The speakers in the doors, it did have speakers in the doors before, but they went bad on me, and so I replaced them. I've got the trailer brake control box right there. Then I also have an oil pressure gauge mounted right there in that particular place. Let me go to the other side, and I'll pick this up and show you some more. Go to the driver's side over here. So, son of a gun. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Well, as you can see, we have the Grant GT steering wheel, and if you pay attention closely, you can see that the bolts right there, I took all of those out and painted them. So that's kind of nice. The holes you see drilled in the horn button, that is so I made a little tool that I can twist that horn button on and twist them off. Also, I took the spring in there and cut it down quite a bit, because you would be driving along and this thing would just pop right off. But still, the horn buttons on these are terrible. They're just awful. There is the manual override switch right there, the chrome switch right there for the fan. This is a backup oil pressure gauge. Duh. That one quit working one day, and come to find out there was just a bunch of water in the sending unit right there next to the distributor. So I put that in. The headliner is black. It was gray. I had to redo it because it started falling down. So it was just a light gray, and I replaced it with black. I think it's a nice little contrast. But it's one of those things that's just very, very subtle, and nobody will, probably, most people would think that would be factory, but it isn't. Of course, put the tack right there, the autometer, auto gauge tack. Made my own cup holder right there. There's not really a whole lot more to see here in the interior as far as modifications. But these are all just things I've done just to make the truck a little more tailored to me rather than anybody else. And I'm going to tell you something. You know, you're going to do stuff to your truck. I mean, like I was saying earlier about the bucket seats and the bench seat. Some people prefer bench seat. Some people prefer bucket seats. Myself, I like the bucket seats really well. Why? Because the bench seats in these trucks, when you're sitting on the bench seat, you're sitting right on the edge. In mine, that's the way it was. Now, and every one of them I've ever driven, it's always been like that. Now, maybe yours isn't like that. Okay, but this one was like that. This came with the sliding rear glass window, so I just left it. I like it. I like it a lot. Some people don't like that, but I just love it because on a hot day, I don't have to crank up the AC. I can open that and I can open my vents down here. And buddy, I tell you what, I get a lot of airflow through here and it is really, really super nice. Okay. Oh, let's see. Yeah. 359, 729. Yeah, that's the correct mileage. Well, actually, I take that back. The mileage the odometer did quit on me a couple of times, so it's probably a little bit more. So it might actually be 360,000. Oh, a couple of things I forgot to mention. I am running the E3 Diamond Fire spark plugs. I seem to get a little bit better mileage with those. Power wise, I think it's pretty much a wash. The MSD Street Fire wires, I've been running those. I used to run MSD wires, but they're pretty expensive. But honestly, I have to say that the Street Fires or the MSD are worth it because they are nice and long lasting. I use the distributor cap back there, which you probably, can I get a, okay. You can't hardly see it for all the hoses and stuff and air cleaner in the way. But the distributor cap has the brass contacts with and the rotor button has a brass contact on it as well. So there you go. That's that's it for all the modifications in here. Oh, here's, let's see, get this door shut. And let's see. All right, we're at 17 minutes and 23 seconds. So you know what? I'm going to end this video. I'm going to pick up a part 2 and show you the rest of the modifications on my truck. And so anyway, so I guess part 2 will be like chassis modifications and basically chassis suspension modifications, and basically that's about it. Okay? All right. So I'll see you in part 2 of this video. Thank you very much, and God bless. Gotta take my gloves off. It's cold out here.